Good Tuesday morning, and thanks for waking up with us here on KLBK this morning. I'm Emily Falkenberg.
I'm Nick Cranach.
It is just before 6:30 on this Tuesday, June 26th. Not as a windy start today as we got yesterday.
Yeah, you know, we had the clouds out there, and then that wind actually made it feel like the 50s.
Oh my gosh, the breeze yesterday was so nice. It was ideal temperature.
Yeah, after 108 on Sunday, we had that, I don't want to say cold, cool start to the day. Yesterday, yeah, it was nice. It was cloudy. Now, forget it.
It was so pleasant. I was so happy with the weather yesterday. That's like my ideal, just lay around, read a book, hang out.
Yeah, well, I'll change your mood today, so I'll make it worse for you.
Please
as
don't.
you leave.
Please
Yeah,
don't.
it's summer. I mean, we can't
I know.
We can't get the cool weather like that all the time.
No.
And this morning, it's clear and it's warm out there. You know, same old story. It's the end of June. It's just the same old, same old. Nothing going on across the map, across West Texas today. Where there's stuff going on is temperatures. They're all over the place. It is 63 in Tulia, 65 in Dimmitt, 67 in Muleshoe and Amherst and Plainview. But then we jump up to 77 here in Lubbock, 74 in Spurs, 72 in Rawls, Floydada at 70, but it's 78 in Guthrie and Jayton, 69 in Seminole, 74 down in Lamesa. By lunchtime, expect us to be into the mid-80s. We'll jump up to 97 by 5 o'clock, 94 by 8 p.m. We have some minor relief from the heat in your forecast. All those details coming up a little bit later, Emily.
All right, thanks, Nick. We're following some breaking news this morning as Lubbock fire rescue crews fight flames at a home near the 1600 block of Avenue Y. Now, crews began fighting those flames around 3:15 this morning. There were initial reports of flames in the basement, even reaching the attic. Now, there's no word yet on how this fire started or if there were any injuries. So we'll keep you updated at our website as everythinglubbock.com. A local state representative is calling out a comic circulating the internet. The picture is at the top of the Avalanche Journal's editorial page. It shows a cop pointing a gun at a kid's back. But it's not only on this paper, it's on several papers nationwide. State Representative Dustin Burrows says it's not funny at all.
Honestly, I had to kind of look at it and stare at it and try to process it several different times to think, wow, they really did just put this in the paper?
Dustin Burrows picked up the Avalanche Journal Monday morning, but didn't expect to find this kind of comic.
When you see this, I guess this propaganda, this thing that they're putting out there, and they think it's funny, I just didn't.
Printed front and center of the paper's opinion page, the idea of a police officer shooting or threatening to shoot an unarmed kid in the back. It's a syndicated cartoon from artist Rob Rogers and Andrews McMeel Syndication. Burrows says he's had the privilege of working with law enforcement and feels like this is offensive to any officer.
I have the utmost respect for the job they do. What we ask them to do is extraordinarily difficult, and everyone I've ever met takes their job very seriously. They execute it with professionalism, and there's so many good experiences.
Scribbled in the picture is the quote, "Meanwhile, far from the border, children are being separated from their families." Burrows turned to Facebook to let others know he didn't agree with the comic.
The best I can tell is saying that police officers like to shoot people. I don't know where the humor is in that.
The Lubbock Professional Police Association responded with a statement which reads in part, "This cartoon is a continuation of the false narrative that police officers disproportionately use deadly force against unarmed minorities."
That they're out there doing bad things, and that's just not the case. Nothing could be further from the truth, in my opinion.
Madi Salazar, KLBK News.
We reached out to the AJ for a comment, and they told us they'll have a statement about the comic in today's paper. 6 members of the Tau Kappa Epsilon fraternity chapter at Texas Tech removed from their fraternity after messages of a frat chat were revealed on social media. In a statement, the National Fraternity Organization announced their removal and said in part, quote, "Their disgusting, hateful languages doesn't align with our values of love, charity, and esteem and have no place in TKE." This just days after the posts were revealed, which in part mentioned shooting immigrants at the border for sport. One of the men even resigned from his position as president of the Interfraternity Council. Texas Tech is actively investigating the messages to decide if the messages violate Texas Tech's policies. Voters in 6 states head to the polls today with a number of key primary elections on the ballot. Now, President Trump was in South Carolina last night rallying for the state's Republican governor ahead of today's runoff election. The president hit a number of his usual talking points, but kept the debate about illegal immigration front and center. CBS's Hinadoba has the details.
Henry was there at the beginning. He's a fighter. He's tough. He's strong.
President Trump put the full weight of his support behind South Carolina incumbent Governor Henry McMaster last night. The early supporter of candidate Trump is in a close runoff election with businessman John Warren for the GOP nomination for governor.
NAFTA's a disaster.
But the president covered a wide range of topics.
Did you see Jimmy Fallon?
And spent part of his rallying focused on illegal immigration, now a hot-button campaign issue around the country.
I said today, I don't want judges. I want ICE and Border Patrol agents. That's what I want.
Responding to failed attempts in Congress to pass an immigration bill, the president is now calling for illegal immigrants to be deported without due process.
The president is not a king who, by pronouncement or stroke of the pen, can eliminate their due process rights.
It appears, however, the president's zero-tolerance policy is on hold. Customs and Border Protection said they have stopped referring immigrant parents for criminal prosecution until federal agencies can agree on a plan to keep families together.
We'll provide whatever support the Department of Homeland Security needs in order to house the people that they have under their custody.
The Department of Defense announced that 2 military bases in Texas will be used to detain illegal immigrants, one for families, the other for unaccompanied children. Anna Dova, CBS News.
President Trump has a lunch with members of Congress today at the White House. House Republicans hope to vote on an immigration bill sometime this week. Some survivors of February's school shooting in Parkland, Florida, spent Monday in Minneapolis. It's just one of the stops on their Road to Change tour, traveling across the nation this summer. They spent the day registering people to vote. The goal of the tour is to elect more lawmakers to support gun reform. Shooting survivor David Hogg says it doesn't matter which side of the aisle those lawmakers sit on. The students are targeting cities where the NRA has made contributions to prominent politicians. And Maryland Governor Larry Hogan is asking for federal assistance after severe flooding across the state last month. Hogan announced this request for presidential disaster declaration in a news release Monday. He said in the statement that a previous request for disaster declaration in Frederick and Washington counties have been granted. Now, the newest request covers damage in Baltimore and Howard counties and Baltimore City. A presidential disaster declaration would provide the state with federal aid for an ongoing recovery efforts. State lawmakers are meeting to decide whether to enhance protective border laws to include red flag notices. A red flag law would allow law enforcement, family members, school officials, or district attorneys to ask to temporarily remove firearms from a potentially dangerous person. This is a part of Governor Greg Abbott's plan to protect Texas kids while also preserving the Second Amendment values and ensuring due process. This portion of the plan is one of the only pieces that addresses guns themselves. Advocates on both sides of the gun rights issue testified to state leaders along with mental health experts, law enforcement personnel, and judges.
I don't want to see another Santa Fe happen again. There was information out that maybe had it been given to the right persons that we could have put a stop to that.
100% opposed to red flag legislation because a lot of it is built off of the already flawed and failed restraining order process. And so I think if you've got a dangerous person, taking away their guns isn't the issue. Taking them off the streets is the issue.
The ideas from today's meeting will be combined with information from future discussions and be sent off to Capitol leadership. Other state panels will meet this week to address some of Abbott's other recommendations. The Defense Department will build 2 new temporary migrant camps at Texas military bases. Pentagon officials say facilities will be built on Fort Bliss at Goodfellow Air Force Base. Defense Secretary James Mattis says the move comes from a request from the Department of Homeland Security. Mattis says the military will provide logistical support, but day-to-day operation of the camps will run by outside agencies and government contractors. It's not yet clear what type of detainees are expected to be housed at the 2 new camps. And a Texas Billboard is making a very public stance on immigration. The ad on Interstate 40 near Coulter is getting a lot of attention. It reads, "Texas is for everyone, but not for bigotry. Welcome, y'all." The people of Amarillo, a GoFundMe page, raised more than $3,000 to put up the sign. It appears to be in response to another billboard that has since been taken down in Vega. That sign asked liberals to leave the state of Texas. And a heads up before you get your next LP&L bill, officials saying you should expect your next bill to be a little bit bigger. They say with the intense heat like we've seen over the last couple of days, it's something that always happens. Usually the most expensive month is in August, but this year LP&L is reaching their peak use earlier than usual. This time reaching almost to their peak usage at the end of May, whenever we saw those multiple days of triple-digit heat.
Your energy usage is going to go up during these summer months. And so we've been out trying to, show folks that there is a direct correlation between weather and electricity. As most folks can probably have seen, it's been incredibly hot outside. And the usage that we typically see as a system for July and August when we hit our peak, we're already seeing that in May.
They say if you expect to have a problem paying your bills, let LP&L know about it as early as possible. That way they can set you up on a payment plan with an efficiency-saving agency that they partner with. And don't forget, tonight, District 4 Lubbock City Councilman Steve Massengale will host a public safety town hall meeting. It will be at Lubbock ISD's Miller Elementary School at 5:30 tonight. So make sure and head out there, and he will address any concerns that you have. Now, we're headed into, it's only Tuesday. For some reason I was about to be like, it's Thursday. It's not Thursday. No, not close at all. Not close at all. But, we're seeing some rain maybe potentially coming in the back half of this week.
Yeah, we just have to wait. Unfortunately, we're just complaining about how warm it is out there with temperatures into the mid-70s as you head out this morning, upper 90s.